Ross Hawkins from the BBC. Prime Minister, is it only the French and German leaders who are signing this letter? And if so, why have you not been able to persuade more leaders to come on board with you? And also, if I may, the Deputy Prime Minister has said Britain can't stand idly by on bankers' bonuses. So what do you propose to do?
Well, first of all, on the text, the letter or statement, this will be signed by France and Germany and Britain and also by other leaders as well. But let's be clear about the point about France, Germany and Britain standing together and saying we must have at least a real terms freeze in the budget between 2014 and 2020, I think is incredibly significant. I know there have been British Prime Ministers who've stood here before and been asked, well, why haven't you got any allies? Why haven't you got any partners in this? Why haven't you got some colleagues to sign up with you? This is Britain, France and Germany, the three biggest countries in the EU, standing together, united on the need to stop this budget from getting out of control and saying a real terms freeze for 2014 to 2020. I think that is a huge achievement to have got those three together, and I think that makes it a very, very powerful thing. And I know there are other countries that will want to back that. On the issue of banks, of course, we want to see restraint. Bankers have to realise that the British public helped to bail out the banks, and it is very galling when they see bankers pay themselves unjustified bonuses. Now, so there's a call for restraint, there is better regulation in place, and we, unlike the previous government, have introduced a bank levy unilaterally. And alongside that bank levy, which will actually raise more than the last government's one-off bonus tax, we also have the stronger rules and regulations about the tax that banks must pay, the so-called code. Now, at the time of the last election, I think only 3 banks had signed up to that. It's now all of the banks in the UK have signed up to that, which will mean a much better tax yield from the banks. And that, I think, has got to be the focus. How much tax revenue can we sustainably raise from our banking sector, an important sector that we should focus on? But of course, bonuses, the banks have got to think about their social responsibilities and their wider responsibilities when they make these decisions. Next question. The Evening Standard. Lovely to have you with us.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Is Mr Berlusconi one of the other leaders who might be signing the letter when you publish it tomorrow? And can you give us an indication for the 2012 budget, which is the next one to be decided, what would you like the figure to be?
Well, first of all, on who else is going to sign the letter, it's very important that the European leaders will speak for themselves. As I say, the key thing I'm announcing today is that the 3 largest countries in the European Union at a British initiative have come together, Britain, France and Germany, with a very strong position on what ought to happen to the budget. Very simple, that it should not be more over the 2014 to 2020 period than a real terms freeze. And I think, as I say, that is progress, and I want others to come in behind that, and I'm sure that they will. I've forgotten the second question. What was it? 2012. Well, the point is this. In 2011, we managed to do something we haven't done in previous years, which is, instead of splitting the difference between the Council and the Parliament, we actually just dismissed the Parliament's 6% and held firm to the 2.91%. Would I have preferred we did even better than 2.91%? Of course. Even 2.91% means a lot of extra money going from Britain to Brussels. So I want us to do better in 2012. That is going to be, but what I'm finding in this process is the best way you can do this is by forming strong alliances with like-minded partners, so you go into these negotiations playing the toughest possible hand that you can. And I think what's happened over this issue since the election is that because the British have been taking a very strong line on this and have been very active on this, that it's actually galvanised others to say, yes, this is right. While we're making cuts in our own country, it is unacceptable to go on spending more and more and more through the European Union. And I think the action that we've taken is not only galvanising other European leaders, but it's also actually making sure that other European publics ask their leaders, hold on a second, if you're making reductions in the pensions budget and the welfare budget and the pay budget, shouldn't it be right that we control the spending at the European level? So this is a change that's taking place. In previous years, there's just been a creep upwards and upwards. The Council says one thing, the Parliament asks for a little bit more is paid out, and up the ratchet goes. And what you've seen for the first time this year is linking it back to what the Council insisted on. And now you've got France, Germany and Britain saying we've got to do better than that in 2012 and 2013. And then we want a real terms freeze in the 2014 to 2020 period. I think this is, and I think any expert Brussels watcher here would agree, this is real progress. Graham.
Graham Wilson from The Sun. You had originally hoped to get a freeze in the 2011 budget. What makes you confident that you will be able to achieve one from 2014 to 2020 when you didn't in 2011?
Well, the point about 2011 is that, yes, Britain was pressing for a freeze, but in the end, because this is decided on qualified majority voting, we were outvoted on a freeze. And so what has happened since then is we've put together this alliance. And it had an effect in 2011 because instead of the normal split the difference between 2.9 and 6, we paired it back to 2.9. And that just simply wouldn't have happened if we hadn't put the effort in, got the alliance together, got that original letter together and taken steps. And if you don't believe me, go and talk to people in the European Parliament and they will say this had a real impact. So I think the point is you've got a new British government that has taken the initiative on this issue of spending, that is galvanising other European leaders to do the same, and that's having an impact. Now, do I want us to do better? Yes, I always want to do better, 2012, 2013, and then through the next financial period. But I think what you're seeing is a different approach that is yielding results. The Financial Times.
George Parker. In your discussions with President Sarkozy on the budget, have you reached some kind of understanding where you, the British, retain most or all of the British rebates and the French keep hold of most of the common agricultural policy? Or is it still your policy that the CAP should fall as a percentage of the EU budget?
No, there is no backroom deals or secret agreements. I will defend very, very strongly the British rebate. You know, we are big net contributors to the EU. That rebate is justified. And obviously, we've always taken a very forward position on cap reform, and I think it's entirely right. And we'll go on doing so.
Jason Beattie from Daily Mirror. Prime Minister, can I ask you a domestic question? The Institute for Fiscal Studies is saying that child poverty will rise by 200,000 over the next 3 years as a result of your government's policies. Are you still committed to the 2020 pledge to eradicate child poverty? And are you willing to look again at your welfare and benefit changes if child poverty continues to rise?
Yes, we are committed to that pledge. And if you look at what we did in both the budget and the spending round, is because we put such increases into the child tax credit, we actually made sure that neither the budget nor the spending round, difficult decisions that they involve, would result in any increase in child poverty. Child poverty has actually increased since 2004 by 100,000, and this government, in spite of the difficult decisions we've had to take, because we put more money into less well-off families by helping through the child tax credit, has actually made that change. Make one other point on the welfare reforms. You know, you don't tackle child poverty long-term by keeping people trapped on welfare. The best way out of poverty is work. The best way out of poverty is to get people off welfare into work and to rebuild their lives. And that's exactly what the work programme and what the universal credit is all about. And under the universal credit system, and remember that's putting £2 billion into a new system, not cutting, putting £2 billion into a new system, that will mean that it is always worthwhile someone working rather than not working. And I think that can be a great engine for getting people out of poverty and into greater prosperity.